Hi, welcome back, or welcome to the recap, because this is the official Metrocon 2018 TJOmega review. So, I've already discussed what I got in the dealer room, I already discussed what the celebrities this year were like, and I forgot something in that segment. So, I'm going to go through this very carefully, and we're going to make sure I include everything, and hopefully I don't forget anything this time, because I'll have to restart the whole video. But I want to talk about the events. I want to talk about the con in general. So we're going to start off with just basic stuff. You know, just the basic stuff of any kind of convention. So this year, a lot of stuff was really solid. Very few tech issues. You know, when you're dealing with an event this big, you got that many microphones going around, you're going to run across a couple of hot mics. You're going to run across a couple that aren't wired all that correctly and get a little staticky. But very minimum this year. You know, a lot of the most important stuff, you could hear it, you could hear all the lines, and you know, not a whole lot went off the rails. So, fantastic job by the tech crew. And this year didn't have to bug any of them for power because the new camera has such good battery life. Let's see what else we had. A lot of the normal stuff. Metro Security was doing a good job. TFCC, like the Tampa Bay, TBCC. I'm confusing my abbreviations that include TCC in them. The convention center's personal security was a little problematic, but that's to be expected. They're a little bit more paranoid and cautious. Yeah, and is tighter security and kind of like uncomfortably tight at times, not to go into specifics, but yeah, that was, but that's to be expected. That's about as good as it could have been, so no begrudging. They did a great job as usual. The Root Squad did. Registration lines moved really, really fast this year. I didn't really see anything backed up or incidental, so Reg Team killing it. Let's see. I keep looking through the guide just to make sure I forget everything, and I will say the guide this year does have a lot of just really good coverage and does have a lot of, you know, dynamic shots and displays for various guests, the cosplay guests and all that. You know, nice little professional layouts and all this. This is all well and good. I will admit I do not like the fact that it does not have the panel list this year. This year they left it to just their app because they're trying to get people over to their app. Understand that. It's just convenient to have one in paper. Like, even if there's a few things incorrect because there's last minute changes, this room won't work at this time, this person isn't going to show up, etc., etc. Even then, it's still convenient to have a paper schedule, not only because not everyone has a smartphone. Like, yes, it's to be expected, everyone has one these days. I didn't have one at Metro until like 2 years ago. So for some people, they still need the paper schedule. And battery life. I play Pokemon Go, and I know about you, but it drains my battery very quickly. And I know I'm not the only one with that problem, so it's a little bit problematic when they have to go to the site or the app, but you don't have infinite charge on a phone, so if your phone runs dead and you need to know where the panel is, you're kind of in trouble. So, like, even if it's not complete, like, it'd still be nice to have, like, the paper schedule back. Also missing this year is the autograph page, which I can understand. You know, in this year, especially if you've got a guest with a silver Sharpie, there's plenty of dark space around here to autograph, so I guess that works out well. That would be cool. Like, the autograph page is at least useful for, like, in the same way the notes section in the back of an old video game manual is useful, just to jot down things you have to remember that aren't necessarily covered in the guide. So it would, you know, that it's cool for that. You know, you have nothing else, you have the autograph section. But as a consolation, or as a not a consolation, what's the word I am looking for? Or is a I don't know, alternative. Let's go with alternative for now, because brain think no good. Maybe some more blank space around these photos. Something where, like if there's some gappage underneath the pictures or underneath the profile, where a celeb can just sign away with a silver Sharpie. That way, that's just an alternative. I'm just throwing it out there. But otherwise, the guide is extremely well presented this year, so that's all good. Yeah, like just in general, the con just seemed really well run this year. I don't really have any kind of complaints over that. They were trying a few things layout-wise that were new, and some things by accident because a couple rooms were shut off because of renovations. One of the things, the panel room for guests this year was located in rooms 11 and 12. And I'll remember those rooms being the bad rooms for the rest of my time at Metrocon because there were pillars in the middle of the room, which made it really difficult to record there, and it made it difficult to see sometimes, especially when you had a guest like Jason, like more than one guest this year that liked to bop around. They didn't like to sit on the stage and just answer questions, just point to people. They like to get down on the floor and move about. So it gets, if you're in the wrong spot, they're behind the pillar, you can't see what's going on. And even when they remain sitting, there are some angles where you're not going to see the whole table because the pillar's in the way. So that was a frustrating thing. Please, I know you try new things every year, and sometimes you have to dedicate things based on how popular they were last year. So this room needs to be bigger, this room can afford to be a little bit smaller, etc., etc. I know there's 100 factors that go into it. Please try to avoid using that room for the guest track ever again. Okay, what else do we have? Other than that, that seemed fine. The autograph room was back in the panel room, which I'm never a terrible fan of, but it wasn't... Last year it was positioned so that all the guests had their backs to the actual vendor's hall. So if you're pointing a camera at it, it's super noisy. This year is pointed toward just a wall, just the far wall of the room, and that was perfect. That was fine. That was perfectly acceptable. That meant that the autograph were visible from the panel, or from the autograph, from the vendor's hall area itself. Man, you can tell I'm off. Can't tell I'm exhausted. So you could see it from the vendor's room, so the area that was good, and with everything to the back, noise didn't get in the way too much, considering it was the vendor's hall. So, an acceptable sacrifice. So, event-wise, well run, about as well organized as I could hope for. So that is what I expect of Metrocon, though, because working with them as many years as I know they are consummate professionals, always trying to make sure they have the best of whatever they are doing for their guests. So they did again this year, and I'm very, very happy with that. So let's go on to the events of the year. So let's see, I'm going to go over to this page. And the first thing I'm going to talk about, because it's not listed in here. Oh, actually it is listed in here. There's another one that is not listed in here. I got to remember to talk about it. But we're going to start from this list. And we're going to start from the top to the bottom. And it's the Anime Human Combat Chess Match. The main event, the big thing that Metrocon does every year, the originators of the Anime Human Combat Chess Match. Often imitated, never duplicated. This year was really, really good. The fight choreography was really good. There's some really good matchups. Some really strong personalities. I met Ryan this year. Ryan's one of the performers in the chess match. And, God, how fast can I find his name? Let's see how fast I can actually find it. I can't find the cast list. Where is the cast list? Towards the back. There it is. Ryan. Cade 6 was the character he was playing. I don't play Destiny, so I don't know Cade 6. I know Ryan was really funny and really entertaining on the stage. So that much I know. And I kind of want to play Destiny now, even though it's not my type of game, just because I want to see how accurate he was to the character, because he was super engaging and super fun. Good job, Ryan. This is another thing. It's like I mean to get to know more of the performers, because I know some of them. I know Terry, and I know Matthew, and I know Ryan now. So, but there's so many people in the performers that I don't know, and I wish that was different, because they do so much and they work so hard. They put their bodies on the line to entertain people at Metrocon, and they do such a good job. I'm super bummed I don't know more of them. I have to change that one of these years when I'm not bouncing around a thousand ways from Sunday. Let's see. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see the Masquerade this year. They did something cool in the dealer room. This is something that they need to do more. So the Masquerade had a big backdrop that was a throne, you know, for the story they were doing on stage. The Masquerade is like it's like a masquerade ball, so there's a lot of dancing involved. Everyone's dressed up. Everyone's in masks. I did that one year. Me and Danielle both agreed it's fun, but it's not something that's terribly engaging to us, so we end up skipping it most years. And it's, I know they do put on good shows. It's just not my kind of show, is all I'm saying. But one thing they did this year was, when they were done with the Masquerade on Friday, they took that big set piece, and instead of just wheeling it into the back or taking it back to the warehouse early, they said, well, wouldn't that be cool if we set that up in the vendor's hall so people had something to have as like a photo shoot backdrop? And I'm seeing on the Facebook group for Metrocon, a ton of people used it. There's a lot of pictures of people just posing on the throne, and that's a super cool thing. I used it. I popped into the dealer's room early before the crowds got in, just so I could, like, I was replicating the Conan the Barbarian ending, where he's just sitting sullen on the throne while Mako voices over it, you know, does the voiceover. So I don't know what I'm going to use it for, but I had a throne available to me, so I wanted that shot, so I got that shot. Look, I'll figure out what to use it for. But that was super cool. So there's a question at closing ceremonies. Would you want more of that? Because it's something I thought about every year, is dedicating some space to backdrops for cosplay photos and things. And they asked it this year, would you want to see more of that? Absolutely. That is a brilliant thing. It is a very cool thing. And clearly, from how many photos I've seen of this throne, it is a very popular thing. You know, and I'm thinking things like, you know, like tapestry backdrops of like dense forests for like Naruto and, you know, things like that, or like castle brick for any of your Final Fantasy or fantasy element games, cosplays I can understand. I'm thinking, since it's going to be hot next year with the new games coming out and announced, probably maybe a Pokemon Center. Just throwing it out there. I'm sure they've got a whole bunch of stuff in the back from leftover from past events they could use too. But it was super cool. The Metro Star Party. This was fun. This was cool. So, the Metro Star Party is a loosely Nintendo-themed comedy show they do every year, run by my friend James, who did a fantastic job with it this year. Super proud of what he accomplished this year. The storyline this time was, it was a talk show spoof, and where hosted by Princess Zelda, and the director of the show was Maximilian Pegasus from Yu-Gi-Oh! And whoever was doing Pegasus was doing a fantastic job. But every year, as fun as it was, because they had Digimon characters showing up, but we also had Bayonetta, who I guess is technically Nintendo now, and the other one we had was Bowser. And this is a hysterical Bowser. Every year there is one role where you can tell just James was having fun with this, writing this character, and they've got the best stuff going on. And this year was Bowser, who was awesome. Huge props to the performer for Bowser. Huge props to you. performer. Who was Bowser? Who was Bowser? Dylan. Dylan. I need again. God, why don't I know more of you people? It's been 11 Metrocons. I've been to more than most of these people in this cast. Okay, so Star Party was awesome. Star Party was excellent. The plot wasn't too involved this time, so it was easier to follow. Had some really good setups and situations. I almost felt like it was throwing some nice shade because it was kind of echoing how Conan O'Brien was treated for the Tonight Show years ago. And there was also some stuff that was referencing back to past Sorry, my mouth needed to reboot. Past Star Parties were referenced in this one, which was also kind of a cool touch that they did. So yeah, Star Party was really funny this year. I'm so, like, whenever I do Metro coverage, I try to do highlight reels because it's not like a typical con where the guests are the huge draw and just the panels that the guests do are the big thing, and you know, the fan run panels are just, you know, how you spend your time. No, this is one of the few conventions that goes out of their way to make their own content, make their own drawing point with all of these shows. Comedy shows, combat shows, fire shows. We're getting to that one too. So I don't like doing full recaps. I don't like posting the entire performance because this is the draw of Metrocon. I don't want to provide an alternative to going to Metrocon by posting a full version of the Star Party or the chess match or things like that. So I keep it to a highlight reel so you guys know how awesome it was and how funny it was. But if you want to see the full shows, you really should have been there. But I'm so tempted to post the entire Star Party because it was so funny. And James is going to say, "Yeah, sure, do it." No, I refuse. I'm going to make it I'm going to do a highlight reel, and you're going to like it. Suck it up, Buttercup. We have the Fire Show, as mentioned. This year it was themed after Dark Souls. I don't like Dark Souls. Let's get this part out of the way right now. Don't like Dark Souls. I don't like games where they are made so impossibly difficult, and that's the draw. And the whole appeal is how exciting it is when you finally do overcome a really tough fight, a really tough obstacle. It's not my kind of game. Like, I don't want to have this titanic struggle just to get through the first two enemies. I don't want, like what if the two Goombas in Mario were just like nearly impassable and you just spent hours just trying to get past two Goombas, and then you finally do. It's awesome. Then you run into a Koopa. What am I supposed to do with the turtle? What was like those had a hard enough time with the walking mushroom people, and now I got a turtle. What am I supposed to do with the turtle? It's not my kind of game. The show was phenomenal. The choreography was cool. They had some really cool new toys, like these S stabs that were lit on both ends. They had some really cool motion when they were twirling them. So as usual, the Fire Show cast just nails it every single year. The first performance I went to, like every year, there's a couple of flubs just because they're still technically amateurs, but they're extremely good at what they do still. So the second show I went to, couple flubs, but easily forgivable stuff. First run was clean. First one was super clean. I only noticed one gap, and they literally bounced back from it. I don't know how the Saturday show went. I got to see it on Friday, and I got to see it on Thursday. So that one was really cool. As someone who doesn't know Dark Souls, I was still exceptionally entertained by the show. Props to the guy who had to be in the full leather bodysuit. Okay, Tom. I was gonna say it just says performer for everybody, but no, Tom, the Ashen one. Good on you. This man in full Florida humidity in the summer also stood around a bunch of people with fire and then had a fire sword himself in full leather armor from head to toe. I don't know how he didn't die, but he did not die. So good on you, Tom, for not dying. So yeah, super cool show. I don't know if I actually want to attempt Dark Souls now because of it, but yeah. Rhythm City Chronicles. This is Metrocon's dance show, and these guys put on a solid performance every single year. This is one of Danielle's favorite events, and it was not a letdown this year. This one was My Hero Academia inspired. So, I like what I've seen out of My Hero Academia. I'm not too caught up on it. I do need to just kind of sit down and work my way through the show. I don't have time these days to watch anything, but I need to make time for this. Yeah, but it was a really cool show. It was a really cool performance. I can't dance. I cannot dance to save my life. So it's super impressive to me when I get to see really good dancing. And they do both, you know, break dancing and dancing with, you know, chairs or props and things. I've seen stomp performances there, and they do like more interpretive and you know, more romantic style dancing. So it's a nice variety. It's not just like a break dance show. There's a whole bunch of things going on, and in between, there's some good bits too. So again, you know, I can't say enough glowing things about the performers. You know, they do really good jobs every single year, and you can tell they've been practicing these things for absolutely ridiculous lengths of time. Slight jump cut there. Welcome back. Where were we? Yes, Metro Night Live. This is the comedy show that is very much SNL. A lot of the sketches are anime or video game takes on really popular SNL sketches, a lot of modern ones especially. But they branch out sometimes, and they kind of draw inspiration from other sources as well. They do enough change-ups to where they're not just repeating the same jokes. Sometimes they kind of do. They did one last year based on the Rick James bits from Chappelle's Show. That one felt a little same-ish. That one did, but this year I felt like all of them did enough to kind of set themselves apart and really kind of feel like a new take on the joke. And some of the stuff was just really, really funny. They had a running gag with Doom Guy, who sounded like Boomstick from Death Battle, which is about the most appropriate voice you could give Doom Guy. So he was a recurring bit, and a good recurring bit. He was consistently funny. The sketches themselves were consistently funny this year. And this year they also did online sketches, which is smart not only because it gives people a sample of what to expect, so now you can actually come out to the Saturday 12 a.m. performance, but also it does let them cut to those segments during the show, which is also helpful for getting things moving. And it lets them do some post-production. It lets them do some sketches that are maybe a little bit more involved or need a little bit more work. They did an anime take on the pen and apple meme that was going around. It was a very dark take, but then it got really funny. I might need the raw video of that to show you during the highlight reel, because I'll do highlight for this one too. I'll do highlight for all of them. That's how it works, except for the Kaiju Big Battle, because they specifically requested to see the show. So I'm not gonna do that. That one we're gonna do. But they had the brilliant idea this year to have two performances for Metro Night Live. One was at the traditional Saturday midnight, and then another one was, I think, about 6 earlier in the con, and that was great because Saturday midnight most people are dead. you're 3 days into the con at that point, and it's kind of exhausting. But it's the proper way to watch it, so that's where I go. I'm actually kind of wondering if that affected what they could do this year, because typically, because it's the midnight showing, they get away with a little bit more risque humor, a little bit darker stuff, things that aren't as kid appropriate. They kind of push the PG-13 boundary on a lot of the stuff. There's more innuendo and more suggestive content because most of the kiddies are asleep. But they had an earlier performance this time, so maybe that affected it, maybe it did not. I don't know, but it was still a really funny show. There was a sketch that didn't feel like it was hitting the mark, and I can't specifically remember what the inspiration for it was offhand now, but it felt like it reached it was walking a very uncomfortable line. There's some social commentary and some illusion going on that I felt a little uncomfortable. But maybe that was just me. But there's not a whole lot of laughter during the crowd, so I don't think it was just me. But again, it was a consistent show. How many ways can I just say it was really good? Because that feels like what I am doing here. Let's see. Metro Massive Rave. I don't go to the raves because they are insane. Raves are not my thing. And yeah, those go really late, which is also not my thing at Metrocon. I need to sleep because I keep busy days. That brings us to Kaiju Big Battle. I was so excited when they got announced for Metrocon. I've been a Kaiju Big Battle fan for years. Like, I used to do a geek podcast, which you can still see the archives. See? Here are the archives over at wildtalkradio.com, where I still do the wrestling podcast every week. But I used to do a geek podcast there called Otaku Talk Live. And we had one of their performers, their previous ring announcer, was on there as one of our guests. And that was fun. I've been following them for a long time. And if you don't know Kaiju Big Battle is pro wrestling with giant monster suits. With cardboard buildings in the ring so you pretend like these are giant monsters waging war, and it's spectacular, it's hysterical, it's stupid as hell, but that's the beauty of Kaiju Big Battle. It is hysterical. I got to watch a giant mustached plantain wrestle a mutant toucan. I don't know why, but it was fun. The plantains have been a long staple of Kaiju Big Battle. I was very, very happy to see the plantains. There was some other veterans of Kaiju that I knew. Hell Monkey was there. American Beetle was there. That was really cool. Nothing cooler than Dr. Cube. If you are any kind of wrestling fan of any sort, go look up some promos from Dr. Cube on YouTube. He's one of the best mic workers in professional wrestling that nobody's heard of. But he's extremely good at what he does. I was extremely happy to see him and the rest of his Cube's posse. This made me so happy. This was big and stupid and so much fun. This was so much fun to watch. To Nick, to Alex, to anyone who has any say in this, get them back. If this was a yearly thing, I would love you forever. I already love you guys forever. You're my Metrocon people. But I want them back. They want to come back. Let's always do this. Let's never not do this. It was so much fun. And it's so different. It's so different from anything else being offered at Metrocon. So it adds to the variety. And there were huge kaiju fans. I wanted a word with a ring announcer there, but there was a Kaiju Big Battle super fan who got a ticket to Metrocon just so she could come see Kaiju Big Battle. She had all the DVDs and she goes see our show. And like, you are way too into this, but that's cool. Do your thing. Like, I'm into things that much, so like, I know what it's like to get to see in person. I never thought I'd get to go. I never thought I'd get to see Kaiju Big Battle in person. Like, I was taking photos of the plantains and linking them to my old podcast. I was going, look who I get to watch. I really wanted a selfie with Dr. Cube, but I couldn't get a selfie with Dr. Cube or any of them because they, as soon as they were done, like, they, like, rushed to throw the costumes off. Like, I did get to peek in backstage to talk to someone there, and he was all, like, all the costumes were all packed up in a pile. So someone, Metrocon, if we get to see them next year, let them know that it's really, really cool if just a few of them in maybe some of the easier costumes, like Dr. Cube and American Beetle and all that, could maybe just kind of stick around for a few photos and, you know, do a little photo op with the fans, but, you know, because I wanted a photo with Dr. Cube. I really wanted a photo with Dr. Cube. But, yeah, so good. So good. That's one of the things that I am posting the full thing because one of the guys running it did say, yeah, well, they're kind of wondering what we're doing here, but no one's really filming this weekend. I'm filming this weekend. I got your back, Kaiju Big Battle. So yes, the Southern Division Championship qualifiers will be on YouTube, courtesy of TJOmega. One more jump cut. Did I mention it's hard for me to get a lot of time to sit down and record these straight through these days? But you'll notice the con guide is not in my hands anymore because we no longer need it, as the shows no longer have any kind of listing in there. Because the only show we have left to discuss is the Superhero Stunt show. This is the stunt and comedy show featuring your favorite Marvel and DC characters waging war, doing something, I don't know, being caricatures of themselves. So I feel like I say this every year, but unfortunately it's going to be the same thing again. It wasn't as good as last year. And I really kind of didn't like last year's. So that gives you any kind of indication of where this falls on the barometer. The first year was good. Like, the first year it was an event that was kind of put together at the last minute. But, you know, it did its job. It was a really funny plot. It had a really good parkour element to it, which is where the stunt part comes from. And that set it apart from the chess match, because the chess match doesn't have the chance to, like, set up big heavy props and boxes for people to flip and bounce off of and really kind of get that parkour element in there. It was different. It was fun. You know, and they had a Spider-Man that moved and acted like Spider-Man, and you know any closer, and you know, a man with a cigar would demand photos of him. But the year after, it was kind of a rehash of the first year, so it didn't really feel special. Last year, they tried to cram a little bit too much in, and then, unfortunately, I just, this year's just, I'm not sure what they were going for plot-wise. It was supposed to be Deadpool, like, tricking the Marvel and DC cast to get together to stop Thanos. It was but it seems like a simple plot, but it was actually kind of hard to follow because Deadpool's playing both sides, and someone thought he was Deathstroke, and apparently Darkseid and Thanos are the same guy, and it got weird. It got really weird. But this year, there's no stunt element to it. There was no parkour. I mean, there wasn't even, like, really many weapon props going on. It was mostly just hand-to-hand choreographed fights. So it didn't really have the same bang or any kind of different feel from the chess match fights. And the comedy element hit at times, but there were long stretches where, even though it's Deadpool's lead character talking, he's not really doing or saying much that's really that funny. So it was just him droning on. And some of the humor, there's been some uncomfortable humor in the Superhero Stunt show in the past, mostly at Daredevil's expense. This year, borderline misogynistic. Like, I hate to be disparaging. like, I hate to put down the show, because I know the performers work very, very hard on it, but it is a show that has shown great potential from its origin, but never quite lived up to it. And it seems to be getting further away from that potential that I truly believe it still has. But it's not offering anything different, and it's not being unique from the other shows. One of the big elements to me is that stunt element that the chess match can't deliver on. And the humor element, the comedy. It's in the name, stunt and comedy show. The comedy element has been thin in the chess match because they've been doing more serious fights and more serious storylines, and this has the potential to harken back to the old chess matches, which had a much heavier comedy content to it. So I think there it really has a niche that it can fill. That's kind of a halfway point between the chess match and the Star Party. But I'm not sure it really uses. I'm not really sure it uses the best, options it has. As far as creating a funny storyline, they kind of make light of how dark the DC universe is, and like, well, yeah, okay, so they run across the Marvel universe. Like, what if what if we do something where it's like, it's the dark DC characters, but they but they're trying to make every movie dark. And, like, they corrupt Spider-Man. So we go from our normal, regular Spidey to, like, Tobey Maguire, black suit, emo Spider-Man. And they make him super dark. So we reference that. What if it's, like, the 60s Batman who has to come in and battle the super grimdark Batman? Because that's the polar opposite Batman. If you're going to play with that dark DC element, don't just make light of it. Play with it. Play with the options. It's superheroes. There's so much fun element you can kind of work in and do cool things. Like I said, potential. The potential is tremendous. I just want to see it live up to that. That's all. That's all. I feel like the show just needs just some kind of kick in the pants to get back in the right direction, because I want to see more of it. I want to see it as good as it was the first year, and I genuinely think it's capable of doing that again. Let's see, but that's about it for the shows themselves. And any parting thoughts I'm going to have here, the mascots this year were tremendous. I will say that. They were in character the whole time. They had distinct character and personality to them. There's little mini kind of stories going on, and here, just so you know who I'm talking about, those four, designed by No Flutter, the artist who's been doing Metrocon the last few years. Valor especially, the one here on the far left, the paladin-looking dude. He was exceptionally entertaining all weekend. Way too into character. But yeah, the payoff at the end at closing ceremonies was great. Oh, by the way, Alex, the little Japanese food dance and song you did at opening ceremonies when you're telling your story about eating at a maid cafe, that's gonna live on YouTube forever, dude. I'm warning you right now. Like what I did with Nick and the nunchuck. Welcome. Hi, you got one now. So, mascots were fantastic, and they're keeping with like the heavy gear designs in the costumes. I'm looking for, which was a criticism of previous years. I couldn't tell if the mascots were the mascots for Metrocon or if they were just from some anime I didn't know. But the heavy gear patterns on them helped that tremendously. It'd be nice if the gear patterns were more integrated into like more unique ways, like if the gear shape was part of the armor for Valor rather than just printed onto it. I'd say a gear-shaped logo, but longtime veterans of Metrocon will know why I do not say a gear-shaped shield for Valor. But longtime Metrocon veterans would know why that's probably a good thing you don't have a gear-shaped shield. Like, there are other options to kind of play with the design a little bit. But they were really good designs. So, props to everybody going on there. And they were representing this year's theme, which was Guardians versus Invaders. You know, and they did a pretty good job at that. Like, I remember was talking to Natalie, who's in charge of the cosplay department. It's kind of like, why? How do I make Invaders look cute and fun? There's plenty of ways. There's plenty of ways, and I think they nailed it. I think they nailed it. The next year's theme is Virtue versus Vice. There's a lot of play in that I like. This is the discussion me and Danielle have every year on the drive home from Metrocon. Who do we want to see on both sides of that chessboard? And we threw in a whole bunch of names. There's going to be a suggestion thread at some point. I know, I do know that Nick and everyone involved in the chess match already have a general idea of who they want, but they still take suggestions at some point over the year. For Nick, if you're watching, dude, right now in my head, for Virtue, I'm thinking Amelia from Slayers. If you're not as familiar with Slayers, Lena was in the chess match at one time, but that was a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. Amelia is very justice, very righteous, very I need to stand on something really tall and proclaim the goodness of right, and it's funny. It's funny, but she's perfect for Virtue because she's Virtue to a T. For Vice, in my head, I was thinking Broly. I'm not a big Broly fan, but next year Broly is going to be very, very hot thanks to the Dragon Ball Super movie. So it'll be the next incarnation of Broly. If you can find a muscle suit that big, to make someone actually look correct as Broly. But I think he's a perfect choice for Vice, just to get that element of obsession that Vice invokes. It's like, you're not going to have, like, Vice, like, that's the interesting thing about the theme, is, like, it's not all about Vice as in addiction, or, you know, it's more Vice of obsession, I think, has more potential. And there's other iterations of the definition that apply to certain anime and video game characters. I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to it. Especially because this year in the chess match, they kind of ended the storyline. They kind of wrapped things up and capped it off. So I'm looking for, like, a reset. I'm looking for past participants in the chess match to potentially return. I'm looking for, like, a clean slate story-wise, and we can basically do anything we want this time. There's a lot of potential going forward from here. Looking forward to it a lot. And this year was, like, and I already spoke volumes about the chess match. This year's chess match was just, like, really that good, and I really liked a lot of the performance. They brought back Kalina as Medusa from Soul Eater, and she was the Black Queen, along with Levi as Shang Tsung, who's been a recurring villain throughout the last few years of the chess match. They are both fantastic at what they do, and they have tremendous chemistry on stage, which kind of helps because they are married, you know. But they've both been chess match performers for a long time. Kalina, her first ever villain was Medusa in the chess match, and she performed it brilliantly. I'm so happy I got to see her as Medusa again. It was fun. It was really, really good. You know, God, like, I'm so upset I didn't get to say hi to them this year. I briefly passed Kalina, but I had to hurry along, and so did she, so I didn't even get to say hi. I missed so many people. People I didn't see at all this year, and it's upsetting. I barely saw Jessica because she got the con plague really early into the week. But yeah, like, God, I love seeing the people every year. Like, I need to get up to Tampa and actually see these people when we don't all have ridiculous schedules. That's what I need to do, because they are some extremely cool people, and they've always been super nice to me. The staff, the guest liaisons and staff have always been really professional. working with Morgan for years now, and you know, we're always trying to accommodate each other's needs for whatever we need. And I know I've met most of the liaisons by now, and we've gotten it down from past years where poor Mary just staring at the clock, you know, going back from her watch to just staring daggers at me because I can't get Scott to keep it under 15 minutes. To now, it's a nice rhythm. You know, we actually have some really good, you know, and I try very hard to keep everyone on schedule. Because, hey, Scott Mcneil, not easy to keep on schedule. But it's always such a good experience working with everybody. It's always such a good experience being part of the convention, even if it isn't just in some little insignificant way. And just seeing everybody every year, they're lunatics. They are lunatics, one and all, but they make me feel like family. You know, when it's time for Metrocon, I usually say the same thing. It's like leaving one home to go to my other home. You know, and everyone there genuinely makes me, and I've needed that so much this year more than any other. I really needed that, and I got it in droves. You know, it was fantastic seeing everybody again. I want to go back. I didn't want it to end. I didn't want to come back here. I wanted to find a hole in the Tampa Convention Center and just pretend like I'm waiting for a panel that's gonna happen in another 50 weeks. That's the thing. Yeah, just tell them, it's like, no, I'm in line for Metrocon 2019. Like, there's gonna be a Scott Mcneil panel here 51 weeks from now. That's about the right time length, because Metrocon is once again falling just before my birthday. This year it was right after my birthday. Now it's going to be right before my birthday. I'm never going to go to Metrocon on my birthday ever. And I don't think Alex, the owner, is going to either anymore. Because poor Alex and all the birthday torment he got on Thursday. Oh my God. But it was fun. It was great seeing everybody again. It's great coming to my con family and just getting to get away from life for the weekend, which was exactly what I needed right now. So, as usual, Metrocon's kind of got me all hyped up and refueled, and I definitely want to talk some of the toys I got. I do feel like talking some toys for now. So, for a while anyway, we're going to get back to the normal schedule around here. And the Metro videos, I don't know what the schedule for them is this year. I'm not great about getting out the recap videos anymore. The panels and the interviews I will get out ASAP. That's not a problem. But I want post-production on the new videos, because it was all on the 4K camcorder. And this year it was all about, let's film at a wide angle, and then when I send it to YouTube, it'll be 720. So I have all this frame in the world to move and pan and zoom digitally, so I can get a good shots of everything all at once, not miss anything, no shaky, jerky camera motions. I can cut from one side of the stage to the other side of the stage. It's going to lead to some really cool videos and some really professional videos. But it is also a terabyte of data that I need to sort through, that I need to figure out, that I need to process, and frankly, I'm not even sure my computer can handle it, but we're going to try. I'm looking forward to it. It should be fun to play with this year. So I think that's about it. The only thing left I could say is the cosplay this year was phenomenal. I was just shout out to anyone who would cosplay all weekend. I've tried that once. That's a nightmare. All the props to you in the world. I might just do a video this year that's just the cosplay stuff. There's all the shots I took of everyone in costume, because there were some fantastic ones. There's some ones that really hit home for me. 3 guys came in full, like, Monster Hunter armor that was patterned after Pokemon, Charizard, Blastoise, Venusaur. And so it was easily my favorite cosplay I've ever seen in Metrocon. Like, I told this to the Charizard, who is a fan of the channel. Hey, dude. I told him this there, and I'm cementing it permanently on video for everyone to hear. In 11 Metrocons, that was my absolute favorite cosplay. So that you'll see that. There's another super cool, like super good cosplay for Monster Hunter. I've got Splatoon. I've got Critical Role. I've got all manner of stuff. Super good this year. So I'm still formulating how I'm going to do it, whether it's going to be like the traditional highlight recaps, or if I'm going to just make like highlight videos of each particular segment. You know, just make them individual videos. I haven't decided yet, but it's going to start soon with the traditional. The first up is going to be the Scott Mcneil autograph signing, and then we're going straight into all the interviews this year, which we got for the first time, and probably the only time, 4 interviews with the guests. And from there, the sky's the limit. Panels, highlight reels, all the cool stuff of Metrocon. So once again, to the Metro staff, thank you for working so hard to put on such a good show. Thank you for making me feel like family. Thank you so much for just welcoming me and being so friendly and so fun to work with. You guys mean the world to me. You genuinely do. And I'm not. I wish I saw more of you. I wish I saw more of you this year. We're all super busy. So I'm gonna wrap it up there. I have nothing else to say, but excited for next year, and not saying goodbye. I'm saying I'll see you guys when I come home.